All of us, I dare to say, have countless possessions. We own things, we plan to, and we purchase many things for ourselves and in our families. We live in a nation that was built upon this right to private property, which the church recognizes and teaches is a natural right of man. And yet in the teaching of the church, we're meant to see a redefining, if you will, of this concept of ownership, that it includes and is framed by the concept of stewardship, which means I own things, not just for the good of myself, but also for the good of others. And of course, this concept will be distorted by our own sin and our selfishness, because original sin, we're always turning into self. And so this gospel is meant to draw us out of that and to remind us about, again, this concept of stewardship. The parable of the talents we've heard so often, and maybe it's a little difficult to us, especially that part where the master seems to be so harsh with that third servant. Maybe that makes us uncomfortable for the times that we maybe have acted out of fear of the Lord and failed to share with one another. But these are temptations that are taking us away from the essence of what I think the parable is trying to say. And the most important point, I think, revolves around what's contained in the first sentence of the gospel. A man going on a journey called in his servants and entrusted his possessions to them. I think this is the foundation of what we need to know about ownership and stewardship. The man going on the journey is obviously the Lord, who has created and owns everything. He calls in his servants, you and me, and he calls us to participate in his life, not servants in some slavish concept, but his beloved children. And he entrusts to those servants in the parable and to all of us his possessions. And this is a shocking concept if we stop and think about it. Those things that we think are ours are actually his. He has given us everything. All that we have or could ever have flows from his generosity. Yes, they're products of our labor and our ingenuity and our sacrifice and our hard work. But all of that is made possible only because of what God has given to us. And then the second important teaching of this reality of stewardship is when the gospel tells us that after a long time, the master of those servants came back and he settled accounts with them. Again, the message could not be more clear that the master will ask from all of us one day an accounting of what he has given to us. And I don't know about you, but that scares me a little bit, because I know my own selfishness and my laziness. I know how the parable requires from us a zeal and a dedication in serving God that because of our weakness, we cannot fully fulfill. But yet we remain hopeful because of God's mercy and his patience with us as he continues to give us the grace to be able to respond to his call. In our first reading from the book of Proverbs, we see how the writer extols the worthy wife, the one whose value is beyond pearls. And her qualities are meant to inspire all of us because she represents the church, the bride of Christ, the one to whom he has entrusted his heart. She personifies the qualities that all of us are meant to grow in, to bring good and not evil all the days of our life, to work with loving hands, to reach out to the poor and extend our arms to the needy. This is what stewardship is all about. Not just giving money, but having a new vision and a new understanding, allowing God to change our hearts and our minds and our view of things. Next Sunday, we'll celebrate the last Sunday of our liturgical year, the solemnity of our Lord Jesus Christ, King of the universe. And we'll hear in this cycle A, the chapter 25 of St. Matthew's Gospel, that compelling scene of the Last Judgment, when all of us will be judged on how we have shared the gifts that God has given to us to those in need. In essence, whether or not we have been good stewards. It is the essence of today's gospel too, as the first two servants who have worked hard hear the master say on his return, "Come, share your master's joy." Our gospel speaks of when our Lord will come after a long time. St. Paul reminds us of that. The day of the Lord will come like a thief at night, calling all of us to be alert and sober. Let us do that, being faithful servants, recognizing that all we own is actually not ours, but His, meant to be used to help others. So in this way, we will have prepared well, like those first two servants welcoming our Master's return, ready to give Him an accounting, longing to hear Him say to each of us one day, "Come, share your Master's joy."